ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another webinar of Migrant Career Support Trust. Today, we have a very engaging discussion and information webinar on the employment rules of New Zealand. We have Thomas Liang with us, who is a senior coordinator at Employment New Zealand and engagement officer. He has been very proactive in keeping in touch with organizations like us and spreading the knowledge and the information about employment rules. As I was saying, unfortunately, a lot of migrant workers get exploited in New Zealand because A, they are not aware of the correct rules, regulations. B, sometimes they don't know how to get out of that situation or what to do and what course to address to. So we will try and cover all those points today with Thomas, and later on we'll be joined by Dr. Raj from Legal Associates. Raj is lawyer for a law firm. He's an immigration lawyer from Legal Associates, Papa Toi Toi. And he was with us a few weeks back when the government announced the new residence visa policy. But that was just a quick chat on what the announcement was of the minister. Today we'll have a detailed discussion because government has issued the policy document and we can talk more in detail. But that will be around 5 p.m. So our first hour session is with Thomas and with a discussion on employment New Zealand. So over to you, Thomas. You can start your presentation.
Oh, good. Good afternoon, everyone. Namaste. Yeah, I'm Thomas. I'm a Senior Engagement Advisor from Employment New Zealand, MPIE. MPIE is a short form for Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. And thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, Gary, for organizing this webinar so that I can talk about employment rights and responsibility. I understand most of you are migrants from other country, and I will tell you about the employment rights you can enjoy in this country. Yeah. Now, let's share my screen with you. Yeah. Just a minute. Can you see?
Yeah, we can see.
Oh, good. Okay, let me see that. The topic I talk about is know your employment rights and responsibilities. And first I will talk about Employment New Zealand and what does Employment New Zealand do and what's their work context. And also I will guide you through minimum employment rights and responsibilities. There's what kind of employment rights you can have in New Zealand. And also when you have employment relation problems, for example, if you have argument with your boss or you feel you have been treated unfairly by your boss, or your employer, you want to dismiss an employee, what can you do? And what's the right process to do it? And how can you protect yourself? And also, I will tell you what information and support we can provide to you. Yeah. All right. Yeah, first, I will talk about Employment New Zealand. Employment New Zealand is part of MBIE, and MBIE is one of the largest government department in New Zealand. And Employment New Zealand is one of their unit. And also, I let you know, immigration, I think you're quite familiar, also part of MBIE. Both Employment New Zealand and Immigration New Zealand are under MBIE, the big umbrella. And Employment New Zealand, there are a few units inside Employment New Zealand, but you can Just remember two main ones. That's labor inspectory and employment mediation services. Employment mediation is a free service to help you resolve employment relation problems. For example, if you have argument with your boss, you can't settle that, and then you can give us a ring, and then a mediator will work between you and your employer or you and your employee, and then help you resolve these problems. And labor inspectory, in simple words, someone say there's police in employment market. Their role is to ensure compliance with employment legislation, especially focus on minimum employment standard. What if you are migrant, sometimes you don't know what does minimum employment standard mean. I will tell you more about that later.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, employment New Zealand, yeah, as I said, includes labor inspectory, employment mediation service, other early resolution. Early resolution, that's if you call us, the first point of contact maybe that's early resolution. Early resolution just to help you quickly resolve employment issues. Like they try to do it via email or phone call. And if they are not successful, they will guide you to labor inspectory and mediation. Okay. And also employer systems and assurance. And you don't need to worry about this. And also support to ERA and Enumeration Authority. ERA is a short form for Employment Relation Authority. It's a kind of a court. That's when labor Employment New Zealand, they escalating a case, they will go to ERA. There's a court. And yeah, and it's a court under employment, below employment court. Yeah. So that means if ERA cannot resolve that, they will also go to employment court. Okay. And also we are information and education. Yeah, we will provide all this to you. Okay. And our purpose is to establish fair workplaces. And our work is to lift compliance and capacity in workplace. And we just try to help workers and employers to realize their potential. Yeah. And here's a few well-known cases we Employment New Zealand had dealt with. For example, you can see a lot of big brand name here. Sometimes also, unfortunately, they breach employment legislation. We still bring them to justice. Okay, and some common issues you will encounter in workplace. For example, don't have employer fail to provide employment agreement to employee. That's very important document. And from the first day of your work, you need to, as an employee, you need to have that to prove you are employee. Otherwise, if you're not employee, you can't enjoy all the, you are not protected by the law. Yeah. You can't enjoy all the employment rights. Other issues, for example, employee make casual and use contractor model. That means, as I said, if you're not employee, if you're contractor, not employee, you will not be entitled to all the employment rights because you are just contractor. All the employment legislation does not apply to you. And sometimes some employer, they just make employee, make them as contractor so that they can, save a lot of money. So you need to be very careful. And also fail to pay annual leave, public holiday, also resignation and redundancy. For example, these things, as an employer, you can sometimes you think you can impose disciplinary action on employee, like for example, even want to dismiss, or you can dismiss or fire them, but you need to go through reasonable and fair process. Otherwise, there may be some problem. Other issues like wage subsidy, and we are now in COVID period, and sometimes employer fail to pass the government subsidy and fail to pay employees their money.
Yeah.
And also the most serious one is migrant exploitation. In migrant exploitation, they include like bully and threaten you, and that means, for example, and they threaten you, if you don't follow my words, I will cancel your visa. I will even do this, do that, and that's not fair, not acceptable in New Zealand. And also, ask some employer ask you to, if your employee asks you to pay money to give you a job. I give you a job, but you need to pay me a certain amount of money. Or when you're working for me, you need to pay back part of your money, part of your holiday pay, so that you can keep your job. That's not acceptable. That's a breach of law.
Yeah.
And so that's also a kind of migrant exploitation if you're migrant. And also don't receive other minimum employment rights. For example, holiday pay come across quite often, fail to pay holiday pay, and all these things, time and half, all these things. And also another thing is deduction. For example, deduct money from your pay. I don't mean tax. Those for the government, that's completely okay. But other things, for example, without your agreement, just deduct your money for like uniform, for training, or even in some cases, for example, I give you example, like in some petrol station, and some customers, they fuel their car and run and don't pay, and the employer say, "Oh, employee, you have to pay for that." That's
Oh my God.
That's not fair. Yeah, that's deduction, and okay. If employer fail to comply with legislation, they may be faced with imprisonment or fine up to 100,000. So just now I talk about employment rights. What's employment rights? Let's have a look. First, what's employee? Employees is anyone who has agreed to be employed under a contract of service or work for some form of payment, including wage, salary, commission, or piece rate. I would like you to tell apart employee from contractor, from volunteer. You need to tell them apart, because volunteer and contractor, they are not entitled to employment, minimum employment rights. They're not protected by employment legislation. That's very important. When you work for someone, you need to know what's your status. They treat you as volunteer, they treat you as a contractor or employee. You need to look at your contract. What kind of contract is volunteer contract? Is a contractor contract or employment contract. You need to look carefully. And employee include full-time, part-time, fixed time, seasonal, casual, on probationary or trial period. Including people who have been offered and accepted a job. That's employee. Okay, what kind of employment rights? For example, first, the most important minimum wages. Every 1st of April every year, and the government will adjust the minimum wages. Usually there's an increase. For example, at this moment, there's $20. I mean, for an adult, there's $20 before tax. Remember that. All the hours you work, you are entitled to that way or above that. If you think you are below that, then you need to think about it whether it is okay. Yes. Public holiday. In New Zealand, every year your employee entitled to 11 public holiday per year, and from next year, there may be 12 public holiday. There's because next year there will be another holiday. Yeah, there's anyone know about that? Heard the another public holiday?
That's the Maori New Year?
Yes, perfect. Yeah, so from next year, and there will be a new one. And also annual holiday. There's 4 weeks per year. After if you work for the same employer after 12 months, you're entitled to 4 weeks. But even before 12 months, if your employer is nice enough, can let you use your annual holiday in advance. It's up to your employer. And also sick leave, just also a change in July from 5 days to 10 days. And other than this, there are other things. Bereavement leave. After you work for the same employer for 6 months, you are entitled to bereavement leave. If your immediate family pass away, unfortunately, and you can ask for 3 days. And if other people, like your friends, or you can also request 1 day. And domestic violence leave, 10 days per year after working for the same employer 6 months. But you need to prove you are a victim. And also, and after you work 6 months. Also, rest and meal break. For example, 1 day, if you work 8 hours, you're entitled to 10 minutes paid break, morning tea break, afternoon tea break, and also half an hour unpaid lunch break. Union, you have the right to join union, and also dismissal and redundancy, and have to go through fair and proper process, even that happen. Okay. As an employer, also has some responsibility. For example, like provide employee with a written employment agreement, and provide a safe workplace. The safe workplace, that's important. I mean, especially now during the pandemic. Okay. And also not bully, not discriminate, not sexually or racially harass employee, and follow a fair process if taking any disciplinary action, and maintain wages record and holiday and leave record. That's also important. Some employer think I pay everything, I'm very nice to my employee. Why you say I breached the act? Because you don't have record. How can you prove that? That's important. So you also need to keep a good record, and also as a protection. Also, other employment entitlement, as I said before, employer need to provide. Employment agreement, as I said, is the most important document, I will say. So there, no matter what kind of employment agreement and what different clause it contains, it must contain some mandatory clauses. First, the name of employee and employer. What's employee's name? What the employer's name? Employer's name not just mean the trading name. It means, for example, if a company, usually that's like ABC Limited, that's the legal entity. It doesn't mean, for example, BP or just Subway or yeah, that's just a trading name.
Yeah.
No.
So not a brand name, but the actual company name, which you can find in the company's office register as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Yeah. And also job description, also important. What kind of job? You can't just say, you just follow my words and then that's not enough. For example, I usually have a joke, like those massage place. What was the job description? Is a real massage or something else? Yeah. Okay. Place of work. Where we will work, like address. Yeah, because also sometimes you think that's not important. No. For example, if the job first based in Auckland, and after you work there for a few years, and then they move to Hamilton, and then you have to follow them to Hamilton, or because in the employment agreement didn't say, didn't tell you the place of work.
Yeah.
There's the argument.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Thomas, you'll
Yeah.
have to be a little bit faster because you have
Yeah.
only 15 minutes to finish. And
Okay.
I know you have a lot of slides. So, so otherwise we won't have any time for questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And hours of work, and also wages, time and half, and employment protection clause, and how to resolve employment problem. Thank you for the timekeeping. Because to be honest, each issue I can talk a few hours.
Yeah, I know it. I know it's a very expensive
Yeah.
topic. I know.
Yeah, and then also if you have problem, what you can do. For example, first you need to give us a call or email us, or yeah, and then first go to early resolution. They will help you to resolve the issue via email or phone call. If not successful, they will refer you to mediation, or if a serious one like employment migrant exploitation, they refer you to labor inspectorate. If they can't resolve it, they may, or they think necessary, they think they can go to ERA. That's the kind of a court. Okay, what information we provide? We had Facebook channel, LinkedIn, YouTube, and employment agreement builder for employer, and yeah, and we have a lot of also all this publications. And I understand some of you may have or not, may, or other people have language barrier, and we also translate it into other languages, like for example Hindi, Punjabi, and also other languages.
Okay.
And
That's
just
good to know.
yeah, very good. And then that's free. Come to our website.
Yeah.
And they're free. Okay. This is our website, employment.govt.nz. You need to remember that. All the information, you can go there, and there's a search box. You can just put into there like annual leave or anything migrant or exploitation or anything. Yeah. And also the 0800 number 209020. Give us a call, and also we can provide a translator, interpreter if you're not fluent in English. Okay, and also we have a learning module, and everyone can join that, and that's for employee and employer, and the different modules and guide you. There's like a video. After watching that, you can go through a quiz, and then after that you can just like this, and you can get a certificate.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
like
interesting.
something. Hold on, I will show you. Yeah, also it's translated into a few languages, including Hindi.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah, a certificate like this. Yeah, you can get that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and yeah, there's quite a few topics, and okay, and yeah, different ones, and I think that's almost all I want to talk about. I think
you finished fast.
yeah. Thank you for the timekeeping. If you have any question, you can ask me. Otherwise, I can guide you through other things, like go to our website.
Yeah, we'll do that. So let's take a couple of questions, and then if there's more, then as you're saying, we can go back to your website. Yeah.